Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Defining African literature can be difficult. The continent of Africa is made up of 54 different nations, each with its own history, culture, tribes, and traditions. These works can be oral or written, and some are in African and Afro-Asian languages, while others are in European languages that influence them. Through hieroglyphs, or pictorial representations of words, the origins of African literature can be traced back thousands of years to ancient Egypt. The use of hieroglyphs became more widespread and developed throughout Egypt over time. This eventually led to the use of Arabic poetry, which spread quickly after Arabia conquered Egypt in the 7th century CE and Western Africa in the 9th century CE. These African and Arabic cultures continued to mix with Greco-Roman and other European culture and literature, resulting in their own distinct literary form.
The term African pre-colonial literature. The term African pre-colonial literature refers to writings produced before European countries colonized Africa. During this period, Africa was influenced by two major movements, the expansion and consolidation of Islam and the dispersion of the Bantu peoples, which resulted in the formation of numerous kingdoms and empires. Investigate the impact, interaction, and conflict that arose, as well as the development of trade and exchange both in commodities and culture. Most contemporary commentators romanticized pre-colonial conversation practice. Example of pre-colonial African literature can be traced back to at least the 4th century AD. The best known is the Kebra Nagast or Book of Kings.
African literature changed when foreign countries came and colonized them. Many authors wrote about the discrimination of Africans and their search for independence. Colonialism also resulted in cultural displacement. Africans were forced to adopt Western traditions, which affected their belief system, and they began to see themselves in a Eurasiatic light, becoming persecuted Africans who no longer valued African tradition or heritage. African literature in the late colonial period increasingly featured themes of liberation and independence. A classic example is Joseph Conrad's Heart of Darkness, a novel about an ivory trader sailing up the Congo River and witnessing the atrocities of colonization and imperialism. Another example is Things Fall Apart by Chinua Achebe, which is about a struggle between change and tradition.
The term African post-colonial literature refers to writings produced after the political independence of various African states which were formerly subject to European colonial rule. African literature has grown dramatically in quality and recognition since most African nations gained independence in the 1950s and 1960s, with numerous African works appearing in Western academic curricula and on best-of lists compiled since the end of the 20th century. During this time period, African writers wrote in both Western languages, most notably English, French, and Portuguese, and traditional African languages such as Hausa. Some examples of post-colonial African literature include Valerie Tagwira's The Uncertainty of Hope, Charles Bangoshi's Walking Still, Faswane Ndes' Welcome to Our Hillbrow, Bettina Gata's An Elegy for Easterly, Chinua Achebe's At Anthills of the Savannah, and Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie's Purple Hibiscus. The importance of African literature is that it also increases our social consciousness and raises awareness of social, political, and economic crises that the African continent is facing. In summary, African literature has evolved throughout the years, with topics such as the expansion of Islam during the pre-colonial literature era, independence, liberation, slavery, or the slave trade were common themes during the colonization literature era, and the clash between past and present, tradition and modernity, self and community, as well as politics and development are common themes of post-colonial literature.